Rainforest Connection live from Panama. It's nice to have our three schools with us today, Otten Road in Hillsborough, and Hillside School in Bridgewater, and I believe Bonham Middle School in Temple, Texas. So welcome and thank you for coming. We are standing on the edge of a tropical rainforest here on Barrow, Colorado Island in the Panama Canal of Panama. And I am Katrina Macht, a fifth grade teacher at Hillside School in Bridgewater. Standing with me is Jacalyn Willis, my friend, colleague, and scientist extraordinaire from Montclair State University. Our topic today is decomposition and nutrient cycling within a forest system. And I bet you maybe some of you are already wondering, what is nutrient cycling and what are they talking about already? And the first thing we need to talk about is that the forest sometimes is kind of broken up into two categories or two systems. There's the green food web, and the green food web are the plants that photosynthesize and are the basis of the food web, and then all the things that eat the plants and that eat the things that eat the plants. So that's the green food web. And the brown food web are the waste and the dead things and the decomposers that break down those dead things. And today we're going to be focusing on the brown food web. We're going to be looking at the waste and the dead things and the decomposers. So Jackie, I know that you wanted to talk about a forest in Europe. And to give an example about that.
Just to give an example of a forest that helped us understand the importance of nutrients. It was found in a forest in Germany that if people took the leaf litter, that is the fallen leaves and twigs and so on that came off the trees naturally, if they cleaned that up and made the forest neat and took those and put them in compost heaps for their gardens, and they kept doing that for years, cleaning up the forest, making it look really neat, well, the forest became very stunted. The trees didn't grow very much, and what was happening, they learned, was that the nutrients that would normally recycle back into the trees from the dead leaves and twigs wasn't happening, that those nutrients were being taken away, and the trees needed them in order to grow and to flourish.
And you were talking last night about some of the nutrients that are really important in a forest.
Yeah, two nutrients that are particularly difficult to recycle and that are very critical to the success of plants is phosphorus and potassium. And those are two of the nutrients that are actually important today in our discussions.
Right, and we're going to start our journey today with a look at some waste and the nutrients that pass through that waste as they are recycled in the forest.
Yeah.
So if we can go to our poop cam.
Well, first of all, I don't think everybody saw the producer of the waste material that we're going
Well,
to be
that's
looking at.
true, yeah.
We had a little technical problem there, so
They heard them.
Yeah, they may have heard them. These are howler monkeys, or one howler monkey. No? Okay, we get that. Okay, it means that we're also not going to get the dung beetles, so we need to explain what we were going to show.
Yeah, we're experiencing a little technical difficulties on our end, so please bear with us and be patient.
The howler monkeys are feeders on leaves. They're special among the animals in the forest, the mammals in particular. They're special because they can actually eat leaves, which are a tough food to digest. And although it looks like this forest has lots and lots of stuff to eat, it's green all year round, the leaves themselves on the trees, which are so abundant, are not really a good source of food. They have nutrients that are locked up in cellulose and very, very tough material that is not usable for most animals. So howler monkeys are special because they have bacteria in their gut that allows them to digest leaves. And then when they produce waste and it drops to the forest floor, there are beetles that are scavengers. They're helpers in the decomposition process, and they come and they create balls out of this waste material, poop, and they take these balls of poop and roll them around until they get to a safe place, and what they consider safe, and they lay an egg in the ball poop, and then their larva feeds on it, and they actually develop into adult dung beetles. So dung beetles are important helpers in this process, recycling nutrients that come initially from the leaves of the trees through the howler monkeys into the dung beetles, and then the dung beetles eventually produce their own waste and they die and they're decomposed. So there's a movement of some of those nutrients.
Right. And the dung beetles, if I recall, the dung beetles can take that poop away very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. It happens
a matter of hours.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because the dung beetles are flying around in the forest, they're sitting on leaves, they have these incredible antennae with fringes on them that allow them to pick up chemicals in the air, and they can smell dung from a great distance. So if you want to stand at a pile of dung, you can wait 15, 20 minutes and you'll see the first dung beetles starting to fly in. The ones here are very small, but if you...
but they're very beautifully colored.
Oh, they're beautifully colored, and they're actually the scarabs that... I'm sorry, we're going to have to hang up. We have an equipment problem, and we need to reset the equipment, so we're going to reconnect very shortly. We'll be right back.
Be patient with us.
Yes, be patient. It's about to rain here, too, so it's...
Any questions so far on what they've said?
The howler monkeys. So what's the pattern or the web? The howler monkeys eat the leaves, then what happens? Philip. Okay, before you go to that, what's in their digestive system that allows them to break down the leaves? Billy.
Stone.
What?
Stone.
Not stones like birds, but something else. Robin?
A special chemical in your gut.
Yes, there's some type of chemical or bacteria in our gut that breaks it down. So then they go ahead and poop it out. It's all about poop today. What happens after that? It's on the ground. Yes.
And then the dung beetles come in.
Yeah, so the beetles come in.
No tape?
Okay, they're the next
No
part.
tape?
Okay. Okay.
Looks like we're
Well, I
reading.
know that there are some National Geographic videos that if you were very interested in dung beetles, maybe some of the classes could actually go and get one of those videos so that they can see what we had hoped to show you from this forest.
And you might be interested to know that the ancient Egyptians who considered scarab beetles very beautiful and made jewelry out of scarabs. Some of them are metallic greens and blues in color. Those scarab beetles are actually dung beetles. So it's a type of beetle that's been known for antiquity. Is that it?
That's the monkeys.
Okay. Are they seeing this?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you're seeing how a monkey.
So this is the poop. This is who generates that poop,
Right.
that we've been talking about.
And in a moment, we'll have you. Okay. Okay, then we're going to switch to dung beetles in just a moment. So
This is what happens in a rainforest when it rains constantly. Our equipment gets affected by the humidity, and day before yesterday we had like rivers of water pouring into our tent where all equipment is, and we had to put everything up and keep it away from the rain, but still the humidity gets in, and then we have these kinds of technical difficulties. Perfect, now we have the dung beetles.
yeah, we have howler monkey dung, and the ball of dung on the left side of the screen that's moving, rolling along, is being pushed by a dung beetle. So the dung beetles actually use their hind legs on the ball. They get leverage against the ground with their front legs, and they push the ball around away from the main pile of dung because they don't want to compete with other pairs of beetles that are trying to do the same thing. So the dung is actually an important commodity in this forest. It's full of only partially digested plant material, and getting it to a place where their larvae can feed on it in peace is really important to them. See the metallic greenish color of these beetles if you look very carefully. So, you can hear the howler monkey above too.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And I believe that the howler monkey is not the only monkey that generates, or not the only mammal that generates poop that is attractive to other animals, should we say, Jackie?
I think that would be accurate to say that that poop becomes a commodity here that has nutritional value.
And some poop is a lot more nutritious than other poop.
Exactly. And what we learned from having cameras in the forest that are automatic cameras that we don't have to be near because the animals then are not conscious that they're humans observing them and they behave normally. We found that there's all sorts of neat things that happen when we're not there to look at it. And vultures, or what you're going to see next, we set up a camera.
And they're very important in this whole cycling of nutrients in the forest.
Vultures are such important scavengers here. And we set up a camera, what is a little hut where the guards, the park guards, have been resting during rainstorms. And it turned out that a lot of animals like to rest during rainstorms. And so when people are not there, the camera recorded what the animals are doing. So you're going to see vultures first, and the vultures are kind of interesting because they have more character, personality than are effective. Here's one that's looking right into the lens of the camera, and he found that there are pieces of the camera that could be taken off and played with. So it pulled off the microphone cover, and it's a little plastic piece that gets pushed around in there. You can see the floor. The hut is concrete, and the forest and the lake edge is behind him. But this vulture actually came here not just to rest, and you'll see some points that explain this a bit. But this is an interesting sequence of verbal behavior of vultures and how curiosity, which was news to me, and then how they're involved in the cycle of nutrients in the forest and the movement of nutrients out of poop into more animals and then eventually into the trees again.
Right.
And this particular vulture is very.
Is this vulture like looking at himself? Or?
Yeah, the lens is of course reflective, and he has a friend, and they seem to be sort of communicating with each other. You can hear them taking that piece off the camera and rattling it, checking again in the lens, and now they have a prize. And, this prize is a piece of plastic, and I've never known that vultures might play with things, and they were batting around on the concrete like a hockey puck. So what you're going to see after this is a human.
Now, before we move on to that, though, these vultures, we have different species of vultures in this forest, and these are black vultures?
Yes, black vultures, and we also have king vultures that are big black and white, beautiful. Oops, there goes the camera part. Beautiful black and white king vultures. They're much larger than this, and they are really important scavengers, I should say.
And do we have turkey vultures
yes,
here?
Yes, we have turkey vultures, similar to the vultures in New Jersey. So New Jersey does have vultures. And that's our field assistant now, a grad student, Ricardo, who's checking the camera setting. And after him, you'll see what happens. This gives you size reference, too. You'll see some other animals that come to this location. Here's a tail of a quadamundi, and quadamundis are related to raccoons, and he's checking out this location. And we were wondering, well, why would a quaddy be so curious? Because he kept coming back day after day, actually. And then at night now, we've got this ocelot. And this ocelot is leaving a little prize here for others to investigate. And after this ocelot is done, you'll see what happens with some other visitors that come to this location. So this is a very busy spot. These cameras.
And this is called a latrine, right?
Yeah, it's called a latrine. It's sort of like a big cat litter box, basically.
Right.
And in following mornings, there were vultures there. That looks like a turkey vulture, actually. Mm-hmm. And the vultures were very interested in the poop that was left in the corner there. In fact, seemed to be feeding on it and arguing over who gets to check out the poop.
And then,
yeah, we got quaddies back again, and also checking out the poop. And
it's starting to rain here.
yes, it is. It definitely is. We got to move some equipment, the plastic over. Okay.
Jackie, now why is this quaddie eating the poop? What's so attractive about this poop?
Well, we asked ourselves that same question, and we're not entirely sure, but we know from examining ocelot poop and cat poop in general that there's a lot of undigested material in it, and some of the undigested material, bones, it's only partially broken down, and bones have calcium and phosphorus in it. And we talked about phosphorus being one of those important nutrients. Phosphorus is hard to come by sometimes, and so I'm guessing that both the calcium and the phosphorus are critical parts of the cat poop, and there may be also undigested muscle in there that's from their prey, that's protein.
So really this is like a sequence again, where the quaddies are eating the cat poop, and then of course the quaddies are pooping and getting that phosphorus back into the soil and start that cycle all over again.
Exactly. Now, this is, as I said, a very busy place, and we're going to switch soon to asking some questions about, let's
Switch back,
Wait, we're quizzing us, get
back to us.
We're going to start those questions.
And I bet you have some questions already for us, so let me tell you the order. We have 3 schools today. Let's go with Hillside, Otter Road, and Bonham, Texas. Bonham School in Temple, Texas. So if we can keep that in sequence, and each school, if you could ask 2 questions before we move on to the next school.
Okay, so Sophia and then Laura.
So I think I said Hillside first? Hillside
Yes,
first.
go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sophia Young. I'm in 5th grade at Hillside Intermediate School, Bridgewater, New Jersey. My teachers are Miss Manera and Miss Pelcat. My question is, why is it important to study decomposition?
Sophia, right? I know you from Hillside. It's really nice to see you. And there's a lot of important reasons for us to study decomposition, because decomposition is so important to get the nutrients back into the soil, because like in a place like the rainforest here in Panama, the soil is not very nutrient rich. There's not a lot of good stuff in the soil because it's taken up so fast by the trees. And so it's really important for us to understand that whole cycling process that goes from living things to dead things, back to living things, so that we can understand how the system works better.
Yeah, and keep in mind that the matter of our bodies is what we're talking about when we say nutrients, and without those nutrients, we don't have what it takes to be a living thing. And there isn't enough matter on the surface of this planet of the right kind to make up bodies of organisms unless it's recycled. It has to be reused over and over again.
We don't get new stuff.
No, we don't get new stuff. So even the air that we breathe it gets recycled many times through time. The water, everything.
It's a whole cycle. Everything is a cycle.
Right. But the nutrients are particular chemicals that are essential, and they're in short supply.
How about another question from Hillside?
Hi, my name is Lauren Haggerty, and my question is, besides howler monkeys and leafcutter ants, are there any other animals in the rainforest that have a symbiotic relationship?
Oh, Laura, there are so many animals and plants in the rainforest that have symbiotic relationships. We're going to be talking about one in just a few more minutes when we talk about decomposition. Do you want to share maybe like a favorite symbiotic that you think about when you're here in the forest?
There's so many to choose from.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess I particularly like termites and the bacteria that are in their gut that help them digest wood. And without that, there'd be an awful lot of standing wood here that it wouldn't go away. We wouldn't be able to walk around. So.
And they probably, maybe there are students that don't know that termites don't eat the wood.
Right. Yeah, termites chew up the wood,
Right.
but they can't digest it, break it down, and so the bacteria that live in their gut, in their interiors, is what
And the
actually.
protozoa, right?
Well, the bacteria do the job, and they're actually on the surfaces of protozoans that take in the wood particles and then kind of seem to pass them along.
So it's a three-way.
It's a three-way thing, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the actual digestion is by the bacteria on the protozoa. So, yeah.
Great.
So,
Shall we go on? Thank you so much, Hillside. And now we'll go on to Otten Road School in Hillsborough. Bye.
If an animal went from the canopy layer to the forest floor, could it survive?
There are many animals that do that, actually, aren't there?
Yeah, like cebus or white-faced monkeys normally spend most time up in the canopy, but these monkeys sometimes come down and walk around on the ground, and they look for insects there and pick up fruits and so on. So there are many animals that go back and forth, but there are certainly species that don't do well on the forest floor, and stay away from it. There are bird species like blue cotingas that I've never seen on the forest floor. And you don't even know what would happen if they came down to the forest floor. They don't like it, they don't go there. So that experiment doesn't happen.
So some species are very specific to their habitat and where they live, and other species are more what we would call generalist. They can go down between the different layers.
That's right. Yeah.
How about another, Otten, we're so that you got your sound so that we can hear you. And how about another question?
Hi, I'm Steve, and I'm Elise. What animal is at the top of the food web in the whole rainforest?
What animal is on the top of the food web in the whole forest? Well, there's actually several, but
Can we talk about this forest?
this forest, yeah, you'd have to say the ocelots, which are the medium-sized cats, and the pumas. There are some pumas, ocelots and pumas. Pumas are what you also call mountain lions in New Jersey.
Could you give them a size reference for ocelots?
Yeah, they're about 25, 30 pounds, which means they're the size of a small dog, and or a very large cat. And pumas are more like 60, 70 pounds, and they're about, well, you can't see the bottom here, but they're large. And then among the birds, we've got some large hawk eagles that are predators here too, and sometimes harpy eagles are here. Not very often though. So yeah.
Only when they're introduced.
So where are we going next?
Bonham.
Bonham Middle School in Texas.
Thank you, Otten.
Thank you.
We'll be back. Thank you.
Hi, my name is William Benars, and my question is, has the rate of decomposition increased in the recent years?
Oh, hi, William. You're asking about whether the rate of decomposition has increased in recent years. Decomposition rates depend on two important factors, but they're not the only ones, heat and moisture. And that varies from year to year. Like this year, we're supposed to be in dry season right now, and it's been raining on us every day. So moisture is good for decomposition. It helps it happen faster. And in the wetter times of the year, there's a very high rate of decomposition. But in the dry times, there's a slower rate.
And I noticed between last year and this year that seems to be a lot less crunching leaves and leaf litter, because last year it was a more classic dry season than it is this year.
Yeah, and people may not be aware that in tropical forests, leaves are lost off of trees, and in this forest in particular, during the dry season, many trees just drop all their leaves. It's part of their reaction to being dry for 3 months, 4 months out of the year, which isn't happening this year.
Which creates its own set of problems.
Yeah, right. So there's seasonal differences, and whether there's a difference from one year to the next or over a span of many years, I don't know what the data look like for that. I don't have an answer for that. So we've got another question from middle school.
Hi, my name is Brooke McKinney, and my question is, What is the impact of decomposition on the rainforest?
Want to answer Brooke's question, Katrina?
No, I'm going to let you answer.
Oh, thanks. Well, that's sort of what we're trying to convey in this whole lesson. The impact of decomposition on this forest is
Well, maybe we should use the word impact. I
Yeah.
learned that from you over this week.
it's an integral part of the system. It has to happen in order for the whole system to function, and that is decomposition has to happen. So we're talking about a process that is just part of everything that goes on normally in the system, and it's essential. The system cannot function without it. So thank you.
Because the trees wouldn't grow,
Mhm.
which is the basis of the whole food web.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And speaking of decomposition, thank you, Bonham.
Mhm.
Great questions in all three schools. Speaking of decomposition, there are some really important players in that process, right, Jackie?
Yeah.
And fungi and bacteria are the stars in that cast of decomposers.
Mhm.
And I think we need to look at some fungi. Jackie has some really interesting fungi here. There's two broad categories of fungi, and we're going to look at the first category right now, and this is decomposing fungi that feed on dead matter like, leaves and logs and branches of trees. And this is a polypore, which is a bracket fungus.
So you
So
can
you
see
can see
the white material here, and actually also just about in focus is this back here, which is older, the browner, and there are tiny little pores or opening the bottom. We're looking at the underside. This is where the spores, S-P-O-R-E-S, the spores are released for reproduction of the fungus, and this fungus actually works on decomposing wood. So.
And what we're looking at is not the biggest part of the fungus. What we're looking at is the fruit body of this fungus,
Right.
because it has tiny little threads that run all the way through this branch.
Mhm.
And that's what's actually working on the decomposition.
Oh, and look what else is here that helps out with decomposition. I just scared
a
it.
snail.
It's a tree snail that has just retreated into his shell. Or here, I think they're both male and female. And they actually scrape off living material on the surfaces of leaves and live up in the treetops, and we hardly ever see them. And then also different kind of fungus. Where'd it go?
Right here.
Right here. Okay. A little mushroom. Remember that mushrooms are fungi, and all fungi, most fungi live
Truffles are fungi too.
in decomposition. Yeah, truffles. Well, chocolate truffles are not fungi.
Well, no, but truffles that are found in the
Yeah,
forest.
right. These are tiny little mushrooms that are the fruiting bodies that come out of the wood when the wood is being decomposed. So, essential part of the food web.
They're so important to break down this dead stuff and release those nutrients, give those nutrients back to the living organisms, the living plants, so that they can grow and grow strong and healthy.
Mhm.
And then we have another category. So the decomposers are really important for breaking down material and matter. And then we have another category that is called mycorrhizal fungi. And let me just hold up a sign so that you can see what this word looks like. We don't have any examples of mycorrhizal fungi. Mycorrhizal fungi are very important for the transfer of nutrients to trees. And they actually have a very close symbiotic, mutualistic relationship with tree roots.
Mhm.
And they're, as I said, they're very important for the transfer of nutrients. And there's two ways that mycorrhizal fungi can get to a tree root. First of all, through direct contact, and then also through a little organism, mammal that lives throughout the tropical rainforest called spiny rats. And Jack, you want to talk about spiny rats a little bit?
Yeah, spiny rats are a very common rodent that lives here in the forest, comes out at night. They're about that big, and they're very pretty. They're rats, and they're gorgeous. They have big, sensitive ears and silky fur that also stands up some of the fur stands up on the back and looks like little spines, and it's stiff. But spiny rats feed on fruits, and they also feed on fungi. There's a student here who discovered that they feed on the fungi, particularly the fruiting bodies, and the spores pass through their bodies, the rat's body, into their dung, and the dung is in the soil, and then tree roots pick up the spores from...
Back to poop again.
Yeah, back to poop. So the tree roots are very close to the surface here in this forest, and they're always sort of exploring, very slowly, but exploring and finding nutrients and spreading out. And
So that fungi, that mycorrhizal fungi, is really important for getting those nutrients from the decomposing material and bringing them up, transferring them up into the tree.
Exactly. So we've got this incredible food web that includes the living things and the non-living and the decomposers that help the transition between the living and the non-living, moving the nutrients back and forth.
Right.
So,
And it's a constant cycle.
mhm.
Exactly. Do we have time for another question from each school, or
Really quick.
quick?
Yeah.
One question from each school, starting with Hillside.
Hi, my name is Randy
Technical
Chan.
difficult.
Hi, my name is Randy Chan. My question is, what is the most common species of fungus on BCI, and why does it thrive in that environment?
Randy,
Randy, I have no idea.
no idea. Sorry about that. Let's go to, where are we going?
We're going on.
Nice try, Randy.
Thank you very much, Randy.
It's a very good investigation, Randy.
Hi, I'm running in Florida. What animal eats the howler monkey?
Oh, howler monkeys are eaten by harpy eagles and
Ocelots.
pumas, and also jaguars. So they get eaten by a lot of the larger predators. Thank you very much, Autumn Road. Bonham Middle School, please.
For the final question.
My name is Jessica Pratt. Are there any fungus in the rainforest that we could find here in Texas also?
There are kinds of bracket fungus in Texas.
There are broad kinds of fungus, like bracket fungus, yes. You'll find them in Texas, and there are other kinds too, but I don't know in particular. So thank you very much, and we're done today.
And we want to thank our sponsors for making all of this happen. Thank you to Montclair State University, the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute, Bristol-Myers Squibb, Verizon Access New Jersey EdgeNet. And for more information, please visit our website, rainforest.montclair.edu. And if you'd like to see yourself streamed on video, please check out accessnewjersey.com. Sorry about that. Let me say that again. Access New Jersey, spelled out, .net. Live for a streaming of the video that you just participated in.
Thank you so much. Adios.
Goodbye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
See you on Monday.